As mentioned before, welcome to the space, everyone. Welcome to the space. And it's lovely to see all the different areas and parts of the world that everybody is tuning in. And the first thing I'd like to say is, and I really do mean this, I really want to thank you for spending this 45, 50 minutes or so with us. As far as I'm concerned, time is the most precious commodity we have, and you have chosen to actually spend some time with us. I don't know about you, but these days, your brain's been, somebody wants you over there, somebody wants you over there, and you've taken time to be with us. So we really want to thank you for that. So I want us to get started. But before we take our little soft skills journey this morning, afternoon, evening, or night, you have a task to do. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, hold on a second, I've only been here 2 minutes and she's already got me doing a task. Well, yes. So let me share my screen with you just for a moment. So can I check in? Can everybody see my slide now, which was very similar to James's? Can somebody give me either a virtual or a real life thumbs up?
Yeah,
Oh, thank you,
yeah.
Rovina. Oh, look at that. Yes, love that, love that. Okay, so I think it's only fair that I introduce myself to you, because who on earth are you listening to? So my name is Claudette, as already mentioned. I am, or have been, a facilitator of learning for over 20 years now, and I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoy it. I am currently delivering sessions in schools, colleges, and universities here in the UK, even though I appreciate we have a worldwide audience today. I also deliver what we refer to as development skills in the business world for adults. So I have an unusual position and very fortunate position that I spend time with young people, but I also spend time with other adults. So it's nice to see the balance out there in the big wide world. And then finally, my passion, true passion, is for people to be the best version of themselves. Now, I don't think you came on this webinar expecting to do any maths, but guess what? That is your first task. So in a moment, I am going to show you a picture, and don't laugh because the picture is of me. And the picture is of me, and it's a school picture. But your task, and I'm only going to give you literally a couple of seconds to see the picture, and then your task is to type in the chat how old, and believe me, I've got broad shoulders, do not worry, as long as you don't go in the hundreds, that's okay. But how old do you think the picture is? So are you ready? Please have a look at the screen. It will not be there for long. Are you ready? Here it is. And it's gone. Dun, dun, dun. Nice and quick in the chat. How old do you think that picture is? So I could have been X amount of years old, but right now it's 2024. How old do you think that picture is? Please pop your answers in the chat.
Sure. The numbers usually range from 5 through 8 or 9. So, and some guests believe that you were 25 or 27.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, well,
Well, interestingly, I was actually 9 years old when that
oh,
picture was taken.
congratulations.
Oh, yes, 9 years old. Has anybody got nine? Or if you
Yes.
said how many years ago it was, that was 44 years ago. 44 years ago.
Uh,
So do quick maths. Yes, I'm 53 years old that I've been on this planet, but never mind the numbers. Why have I asked you to do that? I've asked you to do that because when I was 9 years old, I had no idea that I would be doing what I'm doing today. I also had no idea what the term soft skills meant, if they even called it that back then. So it's really important that we all understand that we are all learning from each other. My role today is to facilitate the thoughts that we are having about soft skills, and hopefully for you to go away with a little bit of a takeaway carrier bag as to what you think soft skills are now and what you'd like to do about them moving forward. I appreciate in the space that we've probably got educators, you may be teachers yourself, you may be a parent, you might be a student. It really doesn't matter. We all use soft skills all the time. So we're now going to share a poll with you, and we're going to share 8 soft skills. Now, there are many, many, many soft skills. I think we noticed quite a few on James's slide earlier. But what I'm going to ask you to do, out of these 8, we'd like you to pick, what do you think are the most important out of these 8? And we'd like you to pick 4. So can we please share the poll? And I'm going to ask you to take a moment, please, to pick the top 4 most important soft skills out of the 8 that we are sharing with you. Awesome. So as you can see here, we're considering problem solving, self-reflection, empathy, teamwork, communication, resilience, patience, and social and emotional intelligence. Please pick your top 4 and let's see what the group thinks. Fantastic. I can see the information. Oh, teamwork is running ahead a little bit. Oh, followed by social and emotional. Oh, out, but look, oh, and problem solving is coming up. I sound like one of those, you know, like the racehorse things, don't I? And problem solving is coming around the corner and self-reflection has fallen over. Right, so what do we have here? Let's have a look. Awesome.
There's still 10 people to join, but I think the current state gives us a good picture.
It does indeed. It does indeed. And we can see here, based on the group that we have in front of us today, we're looking at the biggest number here being problem solving, followed by teamwork. And then we have social and emotional intelligence. And then we have communication. So if you don't mind, please, would someone, so problem solving has got 80%. Would someone like to just pop in the chat why they believe problem solving is a really important soft skill? Please feel free to pop it in the chat. So could somebody just help me out in the chat, please? Do we have some comments with regards to problem solving? Indeed, indeed. Love that, love that. And I noticed that we also have communication. So let's just have one more. Why is communication important, would you consider? And I appreciate out of the 4, top 4 anyway, it was in there. So why is communication important? Please feel free to share. Who doesn't mind sharing that? Why do you believe communication is important? People to solve the problem, to process the imagination. Communication is very important. It helps people to solve problems that was before, to improve efficiency. Absolutely. And is it fair to say that the big wide world that we live in, there's so many different ways that we can communicate? Now, we understand that certainly face-to-face communication is vital, but of course, you and I know we have technology where the input of communication isn't always somebody's face and somebody's voice. It could be just the written communication. I also see here we've got communication is very important, because whatever we do, if the communication is not effective, problems arise. And there we go. So absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for those pieces of information in the chat. What we're now going to do is to continue our little journey and understand the importance of soft skills in school, or indeed education. So let me ask you the question then, and I am going to share my slide with you, because I'm now going to ask you, if you hear the word school, and can I just clarify that everyone can see my slide? James, is there a thumbs up there? Lovely. So if you hear the word school, you may consider a building, a place where people go, where young people go to receive their education. I will share a typical quote that is mentioned when the word school is shared. A school is both the educational institution and the building designed to provide learning spaces and learning environments for the teaching of students under the direction of teachers. Most countries have systems of formal education which can sometimes be compulsory. My question, though, is this. If we place all of the emphasis on school, does that mean that sometimes people think that only what is learned in school is important? Would you say? Can anyone give me a reaction? And you're more than welcome. I appreciate you haven't got your cameras on, but you're more than welcome to use the reaction functions, whether a thumbs up or thumbs down or a smiley face, because it's really important that we understand it's not only the main place. So, for example, if I use the word school as a verb, somebody might say, if you had schooled your horse properly, your riding would look better. Well, I'm here to remind us that school happens to all of us all the time. It's not just in the building. And this is where soft skills are vital. So with that in mind, it's important that we're reminded that soft skills are non-academical skills that are necessary for the success in life. Soft skills are also essential for children's development, and it's really important that we understand that it is a behavior. So even though it's referred to as a skill, it needs to be a doing skill. What do I mean by that? Do we have any drivers here? Please give me a reaction. So you're welcome to use the reactions on your Zoom. I can see Nettie's face. Thank you for putting your camera on, Nettie. It's lovely to see you. You can use, oh, and there's a thumbs up there. Lovely. So there's a few of us that drive. Question. If you were asked to learn to drive only by reading, how much of a successful driver do you think you'd be? So you're only allowed to read. You can read about the code, you can read about the signs, you can read about the speed, but you're not allowed to sit in a vehicle and actually drive. How effective of a driver do you think you would be? You're very welcome to pop it in the chat. Let me get the chat function up. Yeah, 50% maybe, utterly unsuccessful. Look at that. 60% again, go for it, Kane. Anyone else? How successful would we be if we never got in a vehicle, we only read? I'll be a good driver if I read the book 5 times. Is 5 your magic number? Yeah, if we read it more, yeah, repetition's good, acceptable. I get that. That will not motivate me because practice is very necessarily learning by doing. 20%, lovely. I will not drive at all. Me too, Nettie, believe me too. I think it's fair to say, thank you very much for that in the chat. I think it's fair to say, very similar to the whole realm of driving, soft skills are doing. So we talk about them, we might hear the words, we might say, oh, that's a soft skill, but it's no good just talking about resilience, communication, or teamwork if we're not doing it. So I think we already saw the slide that spoke about the urgency of this. Why is this urgent? Because we're living in a world that is forever changing. And if we don't keep up with our soft skills, we will be left behind. In fact, I was reading in my reflection the other day that, and this I believe, I appreciate, is in the UK, and we've got lots of individuals in the space that are not from the UK, but I'm just sharing a percentage. They are saying in the UK here, by 2025, a third of the UK workforce will be Gen Z. But 41% of business leaders believe that this generation is largely unprepared for the workforce. It is also important to clarify that children can benefit from learning soft skills like empathy, the feeling of appreciating being in someone else's shoes, resilience and self-awareness to develop emotional intelligence and enhance their mental as well as their emotional well-being. And that's a source from LinkedIn. We also appreciate from LinkedIn's perspective, they believe there are 10 absolutely valuable soft skills that are used in career, and they are now on the screen. So I'm guessing it's fair to say that it's really important for us to appreciate why these skills are so important, but also what we're going to do about them. So I have a question, well, rather a statement. I understand that some of you may be teachers, as I said, you may be students yourself, you may be parents, etc. But is it fair to say that sometimes there are obstacles that are stopping us from being able to either share soft skills or indeed see them at work? Some of the obstacles could include that soft skills are often seen as an innate rather than a learnable skill. What do we mean by that? Sometimes people say, well, that person's really resilient or that person's good at communication, and they're not appreciating that they have potentially learned that. Yes, some people might naturally have the ability to do certain things, but people forget that soft skills we are able to learn them. But back to the point that I made earlier, we can't just learn them, we have to do them. Some people might think they're harder to quantify and access than technical skills. And again, that may well be true, but it's important that we practice them. It could be that you work in a school, university, or a college environment and your curriculum is already packed. My goodness, I can just about deliver what I'm supposed to, never mind add anything additional to the content. And another obstacle could be that many of us weren't explicitly trained to teach these skills, or indeed, we haven't been taught them ourselves. So what I'd like to do now is this. I have the fortunate role of going into schools, colleges, and universities, and I want to share a little story about a day that I had in a school. Okay, so here we go. Picture this. You walk into the classroom, you will be spending the whole day, yes, the whole day with the same group of students. Nothing unusual for that because I deliver the workshop regularly. However, when I walk in, it is clear from the colour of the faces of the students that they are almost like, I don't know why you're here and why are we doing this? The 32, and I have 32 14 and 15-year-olds in front of me. The students are just looking at me with their arms folded. Their body language is telling me, I don't want to be here. And that's all I'm seeing. It looks as though I'm somebody from a completely different planet, maybe Mars or Jupiter or somewhere like that. They're clearly not impressed about the expectations of the day. However, as always, my role is to walk into a room with a clean sheet. I don't want to know who's on report or who's going to stay behind for detention or who's the debate captain. I don't want to know any of those because all of those 32 students are new for me and I need to meet them where they're at. You see, if I have that information that student A or student B was on report or they've done something bad this morning, I may, albeit unconsciously, have that in the back of my mind. Yet, it's important that I simply meet the student where they're at. The teacher has taken time to set the scene and mention good behaviour. From the introduction, I can see the students do not want to talk to each other, let alone myself. However, by the end of the day, students have written these words in their feedback form. During that day, I was delivering communication skills, and interestingly, it came up as one of our top 4. And by the end of the day, some of these 14 and 15-year-olds wrote some of these statements. I love the difference and range of engaging activities that enabled me to go in and out of my comfort zone over and over again. That's all about resilience. They liked the facilitation was understanding and it was very inclusive. That's bearing in mind and appreciating social environment. I can't believe that I have just stood up in front of my peers and spoken confidently. I will never forget this day. Perhaps that student has overcome a challenge or increased their confidence. Another student said, I enjoyed working with students I don't usually talk to. That's really helpful for collaborating effectively with their peers. Now, on reflection of that day, I just kept to my objective. I removed the emotion, and if any of you have done any work on transaction analysis, you'll know what I mean. I simply changed the activity to suit the group, and bam, we were having a successful day. Now, I had a great day with lovely students, but at the beginning of the day, I could have very well quickly have put a negative thought on it and what am I going to do? But actually, I had to use some soft skills to make sure that that day was successful. So I have a question for you, and I'd like you to pop your answers in the chat. What soft skills do you think I would have had to use during a day like that? Please take a moment to pop your answers in the chat. What soft skills do you believe I would have had to use in order to make sure that that day was successful? So during a day like that, what soft skills would I be using? Please pop them in the chat. Let me give you a few ideas. I see, thank you, Tess. Patience and empathy, social emotional intelligence. Anyone else? Thank you. We've got a few, and of course, I appreciate I'm sharing a slide, but there are others as well. I've had similar positive feedback from teachers attending the workshops I deliver. Awesome. Keep up the great work. Love that. Communication skills, absolutely. Communication. That's so lovely to see you're getting some positive feedback as well. It really does encourage us to keep going. Communication and social skills, absolutely. Multitasking, goal setting. At least 4 or 5 of them would need to be used during the day. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And thank you very much. We've got one more. Patience, adaptability, and communication skills. Absolutely. So the point that we're making here is it fair to say that we all use soft skills all the time? Now, for me, it's really hard for me to give what I don't have. So I have to make sure that I'm regularly sharpening my own soft skills tools to be able to share with others. So I'd like you to think right now, and I am not making light using the word story here, but as educators, teachers, parents, students, what's your story when it comes to soft skills? And as I said, I'm not saying it's a story as in it's fictional, because it's very true to you. I know that our days can be busy. I know our curriculums are really tight. Teaching time. I mean, I was in a school the other day and literally I saw the teacher just bite into a sandwich and run off because they had to be in the playground to do something else. So I do understand that our time can be really precious when we're in educational settings. But what is it that's going on for you personally? We do indeed use most of these skills all the time, but the question is, do we value them? Are we pointing them out? Are we making the connections? So when student A comes into the classroom and actually normally, potentially they might usually give a little bit of trouble, but actually today they've sat down, they've communicated really well, etc. Do we actually point out and say to student A, your communication skills today have been absolutely brilliant? We might, or we might not. However, I do understand that from a teaching perspective, when we are in that teaching role, more often than not, in the teaching setting, we ask questions to gather whether information has been retained and understood. So I do understand that we don't always give space for additional questions, but using questions to reflect on students can be really, really helpful. So I'm going to now give you literally just 1 minute self-reflection. I know we're only halfway through, but already considering some of the skills that we've shared, considering the scenarios that we've just shared with you, what could you do about your soft skills in your environment? Let me give you 1 minute to consider that before we move on. So, no problem, Nettie. Welcome back. I've just seen your message in the chat. So, let's continue. Let's continue. So, how can you support soft skills development as either educators or parents? Now, for the last 28 minutes or so, you've been hearing my voice. I know there's quite a few of us in the space at the moment, but it would be nice to hear one or two voices. So does anybody mind sharing? I noticed there were some people talking about the feedback that they already received. Is there anybody who doesn't mind sharing how you already support soft skills development, either as an educator or indeed a parent? You can wear either hat if you've got both. Does somebody mind sharing? You're welcome to give me a prompt or raise your hand so that I can get our host to unmute you. Lovely. So host, could you please unmute Nettie for me? It would be lovely to hear another voice apart from mine. So thank you very much. Thank
Good
you.
afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yes, nice to be here. Okay, what I'm doing so far with my soft skills is I am creating awarenesses about like educational awarenesses, because the skills that we are doing right now, it's like more of problem solving, coding, and robotics and other subjects. Yes, so that is
Nice.
what we are doing. The challenge that we face so far is it has just entered into the curriculum, the subject of coding and robotics. So we're going to have a challenge between the teachers who are not yet skilled of that and the parents who cannot even know how to handle the homeworks when they get home. So that is what we're trying to do, trying to balance from the teachers and the parents level. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Nettie. I really appreciate you sharing, because again, it's always that element of balance, isn't it? It's actually doing it, but also appreciating that others are getting involved as well. So thank you very much for sharing. Getting that balance is really important. But more importantly, I think the very first word you said was you are focusing on, and that's the point. These are skills that can be used all the time, but we're not raising them to the awareness of the students or ourselves. So it's nice that you're already focusing on that as well. So thank you very much for sharing. Can we hear another voice? Who else doesn't mind sharing? How can you or how do you support soft skills development? Anyone else mind sharing? You're more than welcome to use the prompt to raise your hand. Salwa, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. So we'll just have two. We'll have Salwa and then we'll have Camilla. So Salwa, please share. Hi, welcome to the space.
Hi, thank you. I'm a mother of two daughters. Like one is 10 years old and another one is 5 years old. So I'm homeschooling them. Okay. Challenges I'm facing, like their social skill a bit, but together they are very, very, very interactive with each other. But outside, my older one is social, but my little one is a bit shy. So, what can I do to make her more confident in her age group? When she meets, she is engaged more with the older kids, not her age kids. I don't know why it's happening, but she feels comfortable with the older kids.
I see, I see. And so I appreciate we will have, hopefully, some time for questions and answers, but I think it's important that we acknowledge that now. So I have a question. I appreciate your homeschooling. However, did you say two daughters?
Yeah.
Two daughters, lovely.
Elder one is 10 years old and the younger one is 5 years old.
Lovely, lovely. Do they have any other additional hobbies or interests that they get involved in?
Yeah, they read a lot. They have so many books, and they are interested in playing Lego and books.
Building.
These are their two interests that they can do the whole day.
Fantastic.
Other than academics.
So my question is, so I think it's really important that we clarify whether our younger individuals are using their skills outside of the home. So that could be, you know, maybe a youth club or a community group. You may have different wordings. I appreciate we've got people from all over the world.
Yeah.
So you might use different terminologies, but it might be that it's, you know, a little group that meets on a Saturday morning or a Friday evening. It's that social aspect that I'm wondering. So do they get involved in anything like that, Salwa?
Yeah, we meet occasionally with the other kids, like because everybody is busy here, and only weekends we get to do some other things also. We have, but occasionally we meet other kids also. I wanted to know, do you have any setting or program here in Saudi Arabia?
Oh, well, I am going to have to ask my other members of our team to be able to answer that question.
Okay.
So can somebody capture that
sure.
information and make sure that we answer the question for Salwa? So it would be in Saudi, is that right, Salwa?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely. So can somebody make sure that they've captured that question, that we can answer that for Salwa separately? But Salwa, my encouragement would be to continue making sure that your daughters do things outside of the home, whether, you know, as you said, I know it's all, you know, we're all busy, and by the weekend you've got to do the cooking and the shopping and all the rest of it, but having those
Yeah.
things that they can look forward to and get involved in is really, really important. And I appreciate that will look very different in different parts of the world, but continue to do that and encourage them to get out
Thank
of
you.
their communities more. That would be brilliant. But you're doing a great job. Great job.
Thank you.
Camilla.
Actually, I'm from Pakistan, and it's really okay. Thank you.
I see. Oh, welcome. Welcome. Thank you for being in the space, and thank you for sharing. And we have Camilla. Can we have Camilla? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, hi
Hi.
from Baku, from Azerbaijan. So I'm an English teacher, and I really have big experience about the question we just discussed. There are 32 students in my class, and really it's a great deal to make what we're just speaking about. So what I did today, and maybe it will be useful, that's why I decided to share it with other people around. What I decided to do this year, it was we record the kind of our class programs where each time each student was the hero of the class. So this student, yeah, it was great, really. It helped students to open their minds, to open their hearts, to share the experience, hobbies. So it was great. Each time when we recorded these short videos, also I asked parents. It was, you know, a big deal to communicate. It was teacher, students, parents communication. And I recorded the video where a student told what's his hobby, why he liked it, how long he has been doing that, and etc. And then parents sent me the video where this child was doing what he was talking about. And really, it was great. So at the end of the academic year, we had 32 short videos.
Brilliant. I absolutely love that. And I don't know if anybody else is capturing what's been said there. And this is a great space, actually, and thank you very much, by the way, Camilla, for sharing, because that is really, really important, is that we share ideas. And that's fantastic, because immediately, imagine being called the hero of the class. Now, bearing in mind, everyone's going to have the opportunity, so it's not that we're picking favorites. There's a lot of learning and a lot of soft skills being embedded within that action, but also you very cleverly have involved other people as well. Now, someone has already just said this in the chat, that we need to keep embedding and sharpening our own soft skills in order to do that with others as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I don't know if anybody's written that one down, because I have. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Activities and getting them to be themselves and talk about themselves is fantastic. And of course, sharpening that confidence tool of communicating about themselves positively. So well done you. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, I appreciate that we have both educators and parents amongst us. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to share again a slide here that just share some ideas. Now, we're not saying these are the only ideas, but we are saying that these are some things that we can think about away from the educational environment. But of course, some of them could also be appropriate for the educational environment as well. So you see here, we've got things like encouraging communication, expressing clearly and confidently. We're talking about promoting empathy, putting ourselves in other people's shoes. Now, that could simply be that person is struggling with their maths, you actually help them. Well, what a lovely thing to do, blah, 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 blah. And again, it's talking about the soft skills as though they're everyday things that we're using, which is exactly what they are. So as I said, on the slide here, we've got a couple of examples. We've got problem solving, giving opportunities to solve their own problems. I think an interesting one that I see regularly in classrooms, and I think we all can be guilty of this sometimes, whether as educators or parents, is actually rescuing our young ones. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously, if they're in any danger, obviously, that's a whole different ball game. But what I mean is sometimes they're just about to have their own little breakthrough and we whisk them up and save them, when actually it was already mentioned, I think it was Nettie mentioned critical thinking. Actually, we're stopping them from creating their own answers. So that accountability part, which also helps with resilience, is being taken away from them. So I'm not saying that we're not to rescue them when they need to, but what I mean is sometimes we can probably be giving them the answers a little bit too quickly, rather than letting them solve some of their problems themselves. So we've had a little conversation about from an educational point of view and from a parent's point of view. We're now going to move on to hearing something that a teacher has said with regards to integrating soft skills in the classroom. And it's interesting that we've just had a brilliant example of that when we were told about the hero of the classroom story. So again, let me just share with you, and this was written, a teacher very kindly wrote this. He's got his own page on LinkedIn. His name is Mark Nichols, and he does reflections on education. And I had the joy of being in his classroom. He's a head of English at a school here in the UK, and I had the joy of delivering a session to his class. And these are some of the things that he spoke about. He said, have you ever found yourself stranded at the precipice of a day so far away from the meticulously laid plans that you can't help but question, what now? Have you felt the pulse of anxiety when the unexpected sweeps through your classroom door, leaving you to dance with the unknown? Can you recall a time when the day you envisioned was upended, yet what unfolded was something profoundly unforgettable? This unexpected story is the start of when Claudette walked into our room. I was delivering a session with a group of, we call them Year 8 students. So they are roughly probably 12, 13, or even 14 years old, 12 and 13 years old. But what happened during the day was I was making sure that I was using my own soft skills. So I led the session back to the point that the teacher made. The workshop was led by no ordinary session. It was a confident communication skills. Each student was encouraged to speak before their peers, fostering a supportive environment that celebrated every person's voice. One could see the benefits of the day as the day continued. Mr. Nichols left the class for a very short period of time and came back. And as the day progressed, the initial reluctance that the student had completely vanished. Upon returning, the transformation in the classroom was palpable. The orderly semicircle had turned into a dynamic group and buzz of activity. I actually use a little activity called Stop the Bus, which is where they're working in pairs and they're answering questions and they're doing teamwork. And of course, it's all about communication. So they don't even realize, but they're having fun as well, is that they're using all of these great soft skills in the meanwhile. Mr. Nichols finished his writing by saying, as an educator, days like these reaffirm my commitment to promoting environments where students can explore, grow, and connect on levels beyond the academic. We all know that our academic subjects are vital, but he's really saying that it's really, really important to add the elements of soft skills. He says and finishes with this: it's a reminder of the impact we can have guiding our students, not just through the curriculum, but through the invaluable lessons of life itself. Now, we are literally 12 or so minutes away from our time being concluded together. I'm going to stop sharing the slides for just a moment. And I'm going to ask, I do appreciate we've got quite a few individuals in the space, but it is important that your voice is heard. So I'm going to now ask if there is anyone that would like to ask a question, or indeed would simply like to share any observations that they have with us. Does anybody want to ask a question or share something that they've picked up during our very brief time together on this soft skills journey? Please feel free to let us know by raising your hand and we can unmute you. Does anybody want to ask a question? Awesome. Thank you. Keenan, can you unmute Ilham? Did I pronounce your name correctly? Thank you, Keenan.
Hi, Ms. Claudette. How are you?
Hi, I'm very good. And how are you?
I'm so grateful to see, to find my dream in reality, really. I started last year and before last year to teach soft skills to my kids. And it was a good experience because when I taught grade 11 and 12, they faced, for example, challenges when their time management, with their self-management, they are moving to the university, they are not ready at all. Also the conflicts, how they deal. I attached here in the chat one of my lessons, soft skills is a PDF. So I tried, and now I'm so happy, especially because as, for example, I have been teaching for 25 years. The new generation is different, the psychology is different, the way we have to deal with them is different. So we need really soft skills, either both for the teachers and for the students. So I'm so happy really to join this, and I'm waiting you to come and visit our school, really.
Come on, I'd
Yes.
love you.
Yes, inshallah, we'll discuss this with my principal, inshallah. We are an IB school. We focus always on critical thinking and problem solving, but really as a soft skills, inshallah, we will try to make it like one period a week. I don't know, especially for high school. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I've literally, you can't see it, but I've literally got goose pimples you talking, which means that that's really touched my heart. Thank you so much for sharing. It is
Thank
such a
you.
vital skill, and you are right. The world looks very, very different. I mean, hello, some of you that were in the space saw me what I looked like when I was 9 years old, and that was 44 years ago. The world is the same, but it's different at the same time. And we do have to really sharpen these skills as best as we can. So thank you so much for sharing. We've got another hand there. So please unmute Camilla for us. Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, so it's again me.
No problem. That's fine. Please share.
Yeah, 1 minute. Okay, I hope that you see me. I'm not sure, but
Yes.
yeah.
It's a little bit. We can see you though. We can see you. No problem.
I am actually a LIPE ambassador in Azerbaijan, and my students take place in activities really very often for many years. And I have a question: why not to have workshops for teachers when you have next local competition in Baku? I think it would be great. And I'm sure that really a lot of my colleagues, a lot of teachers in Baku will be really glad to take a part.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic idea. What was that? I think I just missed that last bit, Camilla. Please repeat that.
As for me, I would be really happy to take a part in your workshop.
Definitely, definitely. And I would love to facilitate that. I think it's so important. I really, really do. And again, I'm hoping that one of our team members has made a note of that. That's really, really important. Thank you so much for sharing. It is so important, as you know, our own development, for us to be sharpening our skills as well as the skills of students. So thank you very much for that idea as well. So we are we've got a little bit more time. So I do appreciate that the PDF was actually shared. That's really very generous of you, Ilham. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really thoughtful. Again, thank you for that comment. Thank you, Kane. Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate that comment in the chat. So we are awesome. We are swiftly arriving at wrapping up our time together. And I do appreciate that, you know, we've been through quite a bit of information, and soft skills is forever moving. I have the joy, and I genuinely mean this, which is why I was quite excited that people are excited to do workshops for teachers. I have the joy of facilitating these skills within, as mentioned, for adults, but as well as young people. And I genuinely believe because we use them all the time, they can be overlooked. I did start the day by saying thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedules to be in this space. And I probably will start to end with the same thing. It's really clear that you're passionate about this subject, to have taken time out to be here with us. And we really want to thank you for that. I'm just checking. Is there anyone? I just want to double check. Did somebody else have a question? I'm just checking in the chat. Anyone else? Does anybody else want to share anything? You are very welcome. Very, very welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, it looks as though we have come to a close of our time together here today. But again, it was a start of a conversation, and you and I know it doesn't stop here. So we do hope that if you perhaps joined us a little bit late, we have been going for 55 minutes now. I think somebody just asked, when did we start? I appreciate the timing may be different. I appreciate we're all over the world, but we have been going for 56 minutes now. But no doubt it will be something that we will deliver again. So please keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being in the space. And if there isn't any more questions, thank you. I see that hand clapping. Really appreciate it. It's been lovely to spend time with you. I don't feel like I've been talking to myself, actually, because it can be really weird when you're sitting here and there is a lot of faces in front of you, but you've all been absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much for your time.